What is up, everybody?
Hey, how's everyone doing tonight?
We are ready for a good workshop. We're
Let's
talking
do
about
it.
raising some stinking money tonight.
That's a scary topic for a lot of people. I
Really?
know that. Yes.
It's a little intimidating the first time, or the first couple times you do it.
Yeah. It's intimidating for me, at least.
Yeah, well, good. So Laura and myself, we have raised multiple millions of dollars on lots of different ventures. We started flipping houses, raising money there, doing rental properties, and then got into assisted living. So we're going to talk to you tonight about how we have raised on our first assisted living. We raised 1.1 million. On our second, third, and fourth, and fifth deal, which is all one big project, we raised about $10 million. So we use banks for this, we use investors for this, and I want to share the structure for how we do this so that you have an applicable kind of way to go about this and do this. So, anything you want to hit as far as stuff?
Yeah, housekeeping. So if you have a question, please type it in on the chat on the side. You must be a subscriber in order to write any questions. So just click subscribe there if you're not subscribed already. And then you can ask any questions. And at the end, we are going to take, we usually take all questions. So please, no question is a dumb question. I always thought all my questions were dumb, that I should have known the answer to this thing. And I never asked questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them and we will get to them at the end.
All right, well, fantastic. So I got a PowerPoint. We're going to be talking through some of these things. I'll also be sharing my screen, showing you some of the tools and the resources that we have. You guys see the that countdown timer, the mansions? So as that was drone footage from about maybe a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Our mansions are nearly done in the next month or two, kind of putting final touches on these things. And so this project right here, it is 8 acres. And we're building out a neighborhood of these 4 mansions. So with these, each building cost me about $2 million on the construction side. Each building, $2 million, right? And then there was a cost for the land. And then there was a cost of all the site work and utilities and underground and roads and landscaping and all of that kind of stuff. So total deal together, 2, 2, 3. We're about $8 million. I was going to do the math in my head, but here's a round number. We're about $8 million into the first part of the project. We'll come back into this phase 2 and do another $4 million into that project. We'll be about $12 million into the project. And again, Laura and I put in $0 of our own money into this project. We brought in investors for this, and we use banks, and we'll be talking about that later on as well. So I want to show you that you can do a huge project like this, right? We'll be $12 million all in, and the project will have a valuation of probably $25 to $30 million by the time we go to sell. We have really built half of it now, and of that, we already have appraisals back over $13 million for the 2 buildings. So we'll have 2 more buildings, right? So we'll definitely be above the $26 million mark. And Laura and myself personally, after we sell and exit and pay off investor partners, will have a greater than 8-figure profit for ourselves on these things. That's not even counting the cash flow of more than 7 figures every single year that'll come into us personally. So I want to show you that you can get to a big deal like this. You can do these numbers, right? We went from no experience in assisted living to doing our first 16-bed mansion and make great money on that. We still own it. We still operate it. It's Platinum Resort. You can actually check it out if you haven't already, platinumresortassistedliving.com. But look, I mean, we literally like 10x'd that deal from a $1 million deal to a $10 million deal. And it was only because we had the systems to do it. So there is no secrets. I'm going to share everything that we do. And this is honestly something that is very, very repeatable. It is hard. I'm not going to fluff you on that. There's a lot of work that we've been spending years building and doing. But man, if we can do it, you can do it. We're not doing anything different than what you are capable of doing. So I'm excited to share all this kind of stuff with you. I'm going to kick off here unless you got anything else.
No.
We'll talk through some of these things. All right, fantastic. So here we are. We are talking about raising millions of dollars to build a mansion. And you can see some of our renderings here. This is the first building that we did on the left, right? This is Platinum Resort at Mesa. We raised $1.1 million to do this. This was actually a home conversion. And this is a very nice, beautiful product, but it is not even close to the new construction, the mansions that we're doing now. On the right, that is a rendering of one of our mansions. That's actually our third building, 103. We're building 103 and 104. We'll come back later, build 101 and 102. So we have our own street, we have our own addresses, we have our own like neighborhood of these awesome 10,000 square foot mansions, all private rooms, 16 private rooms, full baths. We have a salon, we have a library, we have a kitchen with a chef. We have just, it's gorgeous. It's awesome. So that's what that looks like there, right? And I want to talk to you about some of these things because you may think, well, you know what, Brett, like, why do we need to talk about raising money? Why do we need to talk about investors, right? Like, don't the banks just lend you the money? And, you know, doesn't SBA cover all of that stuff, right? I'm using an SBA 7A loan. And, you know, the first question is, well, why do I need an investor? Man, you do need an investor. Do you know why? Because a bank will not lend 100% of the money. Banks and SBA specifically, they'll lend 80 to 90% of all the funds, which is amazing because most banks won't lend that much. If you go to your local bank, you do a commercial loan, they'll probably do 70%, right? You need 30% down, and that's just of the real estate. And SBA will do 80 to 90% of the real estate and 80 to 90% of all the business capital. So that's, you know, the working capital, the marketing dollars, the furniture, the fixtures. They'll even lend 80 to 90% of a big old safety net, your oh crap money, the overages for the construction, you know, all sorts of different money that, I mean, we have an extra probably like $700,000 in our loan because we're about to finish it up here, the construction, everything in the next couple months. 700 grand that we're all pre-approved for. It's in these buckets from the SBA and we're not going to use it. We're just going to give it back. But that is one of the great things about SBA. So I want to kind of put these things together for you. And I would say that this is what it looks like right here on this next slide, right? We have these frameworks for this, these 4 things, okay? Your financial tools. I'm going to break that down a little bit tonight and show you some of my tools that I use, right? This is the things that I need to be able to talk to the lenders, the banks, and investors to put all this kind of stuff together. That's an important part. That's where you start. The second important part of this is the lender, which is the bank, right? I talked just a little bit briefly on SBA. I think you should talk about, go and look at that. As a throwout for next month, our workshop is going to be on SBA 7A, digging deep into this part. But today it is not. Today it is on the third line here, the investor. So how you can talk to investors, get attention from them, get the deal to them, make a presentation to them. What do you say? What do you show them? How do you do, you know, an offer and deal structure and all those kind of things? That's what we're going to talk about tonight, right? So I will literally just show you, here's everything that I do step by step by step through this whole thing, right? And then the deal structure, that is the paperwork, that is the offer. How are you doing this? Is this equity? Is this debt? You know, or do they need to personally guarantee? How much capital do they bring to the game? What's the exit strategy? How long are they going to be in the deal for? There's a whole lot of different things that if you're going to have your crap together and really, you know, have people trust you to give you hundreds of thousands or $1 million and invest in your deal, you have to have answers for all of these kind of things. So we're going to unpack them tonight. And I would say this before we really get started, that here is my goal for you. My goal is to inspire you to get out there and get uncomfortable. I want you to think bigger, right? Like if somebody would have just told me 5 years ago, hey, Brett, here is the path. If you do X, Y, and Z, you can do a massive deal. You can use this kind of funding, this kind of investors, this kind of deal structure. Man, nobody told me that. I had to fumble through it and figure it out on my own, right? If you can just follow the path, it's not that scary. You don't need a ton of money to be able to do this. And just like me, I didn't use any of my own money. I'm going to show you how to attract investors tonight, what to say to them. You just need a plan. And you don't have to invent the plan like I did. I'm just going to show you, here's my plan, right? So we'll spend the next 30 minutes or so talking through that. What is my plan? How do you take it, make it your own, and get out there and get uncomfortable and just start talking to people? That's really what it is. Come up with an amazing deal, share your heart, say, man, this is going to be the best assisted living in my city. All of the other big smelly facilities are sucking, and I'm going to steal all those grandmas, provide amazing care, and make amazing money, right? And be excited about it. I'm genuinely excited about it because we make amazing money. We make a difference in this city, and I'm helping people across the country do it in their own cities. And honestly, it's making a difference in their lives and then hundreds of other grandmas' lives. So it's awesome. You should, if you're on the fence, really dive into this industry. This is the perfect opportunity. All the baby boomers are here. There is so many millions of people that need this kind of care. And what are their options, right? They have the gross, smelly facility that's like death, or what? Or they have the dinky little RELs that you might have, a great owner operator who has great heart, but they have no budget. They have no money for this. They can't do the dementia. They can't have the locked doors when you have eloping and things like that. They can't have a chef. They don't have great food like we have. Like, man, there's not great options out there. Across the entire stinking country, it's all crap options. So if you can come in and be like, here's my plan. I'm going to build this big old awesome mansion, and it's going to be the most gorgeous thing around, and I'm going to bring in the best people, and we can pay great because we're charging great numbers and all of our math makes sense. Man, and I have, this plan like this. I just need this investor person, right? I need you to come in on the deal with me. And man, I just want to inspire you. Like, it is totally doable, right? I'm working with people across the country, and you see people who are just normal people. I mean, literally school teachers coming in, right? No experience in real estate development, no experience in, nursing or anything like this, and coming in and putting together a deal like this. If you just have the steps and you follow them, man, there is a solution to this, and the opportunity is crazy around the country. So, a little bit of a rant there, but I get excited about this because it has made a huge difference in our lives, and I know it's helping so many of our other friends and partners out there. So let's keep rolling through here. Okay, we are talking about the structure. This is what we are going to be talking through this evening. And here's kind of the steps, right? Here's what we're going to talk about: how to get these investor meetings. Okay, then we're going to talk about next what tools you need for raising money. That's super important. And then I'm going to talk through my 3-phase presentation for investors. This is exactly how I structure it. And then we'll talk about some deal structure. And then really it goes into your offer to potential investors. And that's honestly it. That is the structure that I use, and I'm going to talk you through. So what's next here, right? We're starting with how to get these investors. And my boy here, Frodo, I love this analogy, right? Who's seen Lord of the Rings? Because Frodo is the biggest underdog, right? The guy's like 3'4", and he's got all these wizards and, like elves with axes and all sorts of cool stuff that are other characters. But he is the main character. He's the one tasked with taking this ring to Mordor, right? Total underdog. And you are just like Frodo. If you are starting, you're like in the Shire, like, I have no idea what's going on, right? I'm just chilling, eating food and stuff like that. You are just like him. You're going to go on this epic journey. It's going to take a couple years to build an awesome mansion, to get this, financial freedom and do all these things. Man, it is totally okay to accept that you are just like Frodo and that you are the underdog, that you do not have to be the expert, that you don't have to know all of the answers. You're going on this long journey, and you can bring along a wizard and an axe-wielding elf and all these other things, right? Those are your partners. Those are your mentors, your guides. It's totally okay to not have your crap together. Nobody starts with their crap together. It takes years of going through this and learning this before you become an expert. But that doesn't stop you, right? It didn't stop myself or Laura from getting a huge deal done. I mean, even though you could say, hey, we had experience, we did the deal on Mesa, we were running that for, almost 5 years. That's why you're able to do this next deal that's, 8-figure exit. No, not really. That was a 10x jump. That was us super being uncomfortable and still going back and putting on my Frodo hat again and going into like, okay, now I'm going to develop a neighborhood, right? I've never done that before. I've done a lot of construction and rehabs, but it was nothing to the scale of what we've done. So it is totally okay to get uncomfortable and get out there. And here's what you need to know is wherever you're at, if you're here today, you are now pursuing this journey. You are learning about this. So just literally make the decision. I am starting right now. I'm just like Frodo. I'm going to take my first steps. It's going to take a while. I'm going to get my butt kicked. I'm going to get knocked down. That's totally okay. Everyone gets their butt kicked. It's just part of the journey. So all I want you to do is just accept that you are not the expert and you do not have to be. You are the underdog. You are the people that people are rooting for, right? You're like the Eagles, man. You're going against the Chiefs here and you're like, everyone's like booing the Chiefs. You're like, yeah, let's go. Like, this is you, man. Let's go. So that was a little bit of a random tangent there, but come on, go Eagles.
Yeah, I guess I have something to add on that. So, talking about finances is not my strength. I love building relationships. And so when we first were trying to find investors, what I would do is I would go out and I would build relationships. I would go to real estate meetings. I would talk to investors that were there. I would talk to people on the grocery store line. I would go to our local community events and galas for nonprofits. And I would just talk to everybody and tell everybody what we're doing. And I think that what most people don't understand, as far as like what I didn't understand, is the power of my story, because I didn't think it was that cool. But when you start talking about building an assisted living mansion and you're going to be helping grandmas and grandpas in your community, and you kind of paint this picture in people's minds, people get so excited about it. And I think it's because it's different. It's not like you're flipping houses or you're starting a restaurant or a food truck or whatever it may be, right? Like, you're actually helping your community. And so you talking about it and you seeing people's reaction to what you're saying is going to build your confidence to go and talk more. Because the first time I told somebody, I was so scared. And then when I saw it, they got excited, like, oh my gosh, tell me more. That's so amazing. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is really cool. And so every time I got out there and I got uncomfortable and I got nervous and I got scared, but I did it anyway, it really built my confidence to keep talking to people and talking about it. So I encourage you that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action in the midst of fear. So, I mean, I can tell you every day, I'm scared every day, literally every day that I'm scared, but I still take action. Even though I have fear inside of me, I'm still taking action. So don't think that fear is a negative thing. Fear is actually a driving force to take action.
So, like Laura said, man, one of the things for me, I was scared about posting this on social media. When I made the commitment to do our first mansion and raise money and talk about what we're doing, I was scared. I was scared, what my family gonna think? I was scared about all sorts of things that it really didn't matter. And I want to encourage you, if you are starting this journey and you are trying to attract attention and bring on investors, you literally start with your social media. Even if you're not a social media person, it doesn't matter. You just have to do it. You just have to post. I would say at least 3 or 4 times a week, you post your journey. You're like Frodo, you're going on this long journey. All you do when you're researching is just post about it. You're here listening to this, educating yourself, man, post some of my stuff, post some of my photos and things like that of our mansion and say, hey, you know what? I'm inspired. I want to do something like this, right? Then as you're going and doing the research, right? As you're going and talking to the city, post yourself on City Hall at the steps. Like, here's what I'm doing. I'm here. Take a selfie. Did you guys know that I'm meeting with the city planning department because I'm looking to learn more about starting an assisted living, right? You will get comments. You will have people coming out of the woodworks that haven't responded in years to your stuff. And you're like, what? Really? You're doing that? And then you keep going. You keep posting 3, 4 times a week. Then you go talk to the fire marshal and you take a photo of yourself at the fire marshal in front of the engine. And you say, hey, you know what? Did you know that I just talked to the fire marshal? I'm looking for this and I'm going to put in a sprinkler system and I'm going to build this gorgeous mansion. And it's going to look like this. Right? Same as you're going and you're looking at land. Man, I would love to go when I was doing this and I'm looking at pieces of property. I'm just walking through it. I'm like just selfieing myself and just like, hey, what do you guys think, man? I'm thinking I'll put the building over here. We'll have this mansion. We'll have these gorgeous trees and like all this kind of stuff over here. You know, send me a comment. What do you guys think? Should I buy this piece of land? Should I put my mansions right here? You're just posting and documenting every single step, right? That's all it is. And you know what? You will get so many people that are like friends or friends of friends, friends of family that are coming out and be like, they're just going to start messaging. Hey, do you need partners for this? Are you raising money for this? Right? That is all you do. Everywhere you go, you talk about it. And everywhere you go, you start sharing your journey, what you want to do and why it is special and unique, because this relates to every single person. Every person has a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa that they've had an experience with end of life, right? It hits close to home because, man, people, they put their loved one in one of these big facilities and they just see them wither away and die, and it's disgusting, and they're neglected and they're just sad, and they go visit grandpa and they're like, man, what happened to grandpa? It's like, oh yeah, he's in this big gross facility now, and like he's just literally dying because he's neglected all day, right? Like, and you think to yourself, man, there's got to be a better option. There is a better option. This is it, right? I want to show you, like, just go through the dang steps. This is all you got to do. Be like Frodo Baggins. So, my boy right here. All right, let's keep rolling through here. Let's talk about some of these tools. And there's 4 things that I come equipped with when I am getting my stuff together. That's my renderings, my architectural plans, my business plan, and my Performa. So let me actually pull this up. I'm going to show you what my renderings look like. And here they are. So this is Building C. You can see front of the house here. Again, this is 10,000 square feet, 16 bedrooms, 17 baths. This is the back of it. And it's maybe hard for perspective here, but there's glass walls that are like 17 feet high, all glass. Right? This is the next door building. Again, these are renderings. These buildings are fully built now. And then we had that intro video where you can see what they look like, right? But I'm using this specifically because I'm trying to gather attention. I want to excite my potential investors. I want to show them, like, here, look, check out these mansions. This is what we're going to build. It's going to look like this. And then I go and I pull up the architectural plans. And again, like, I'm gone through this, not my first rodeo, so I have these plans. I can show people what we're gonna do, and I start talking through it. I'm like, okay, look, here's what the rooms are. They're good size. They're like 330 square feet. You have your own private bath. We have this, salon over here. We have our library over here. We have a garden room. We have these huge vaulted ceilings and glass walls. And man, before I even get going with them, they are pumped. They are excited. They want to see this thing come to reality, right? So I use those 2 things. Those are really important tools: renderings and then my plans. And then I start talking through the business plan. I start talking about the numbers, and I want to show them, like, hey, that this right here, this deal, this makes sense. This is safe for your money, right? Your money is tied to real property. Your money is going to be safe. We're going to build something with equity. I mean, we're literally building it about $2.5 million in hard costs per mansion with a real value, an appraisal value of about $5 million just on the real estate side, not counting the business side. So we're building at almost 50% value on these kind of things. We have so much equity because we can build less expensive than you can go buy something existing. So there is a ton of safety and security, and I'm using that business plan to show that. And then the next part, I'll use this next tool, my Performa. And then I start going through the cash flow, and I start showing what my bed rates are. And then I explain the staffing. And then I'm showing, look, here, we're netting, even after vacancy, we're netting $40,000+ a month. When we're 100% full, we're netting over $50,000 a month. And this is still with multiple managers and a chef, and it's including overtime and payroll taxes and all those kind of things, right? Because again, I've been running one for 5 years, and we're building these other ones 8 minutes away. I know exactly what the numbers are going to be. They're exact same numbers. So I can come in and say, hey, look, this is what it is. And this is going to be a great return. We're going to have all of this cash flow. You're potentially going to share in the cash flow. And then when we exit the deal, when we go to sell, or if I wanted to cash out, refinance, and buy you out, then at that point, right, you're going to get paid a huge payday based on the real estate when we go and exit the real estate deal. So massive, massive opportunity for investors, especially when you structure in this way. And I talked about SBA a little bit earlier. When you use SBA, you don't need a ton of capital, right? I can build one of these mansions and need probably between $300,000 and $500,000 as a down payment. That's not an astronomical, unattainable amount of money to raise, right? If you have some capital, put some skin in the game, and you come and you find an investor and they put in $300,000, and again, you can offer them 10, 15, 19%, something in that kind of range. They will have a massive cash on cash return backed by real estate. They'll get a huge payday on the exit, and they'll get really great, consistent returns, whether you did it monthly or quarterly at the end of the year on the cash flow. So the opportunity is amazing for potential investors. And I want you to hear that you are the special one. You are the one with the deal. When we come and I present to investors, man, it's like, hey, there's a ton of people that have $500,000 sitting in IRA or retirement account doing nothing, right? Tons of people doing that. How many people have a massive home run deal that makes amazing money and helps seniors? Not very many. I don't know really very many people doing it, right? So you are the limiting factor here. A great deal is something that is special, and you should come with confidence. And you are not asking for money. You're literally just offering an opportunity. What else are they going to get, right? Are they going to invest in the stock market, right? Like, that's okay. Yeah, fine. Get your, 6-8% and then pay taxes on that, right? This is huge. This is 4 or 5 times that kind of return, safe, consistent, backed by real estate, and you're making a difference. So I love all these kind of things, and your investors will too. So this is the 3-phase investor presentation that I go through. And
I'm gonna press it so they can see.
oh, there we go. Let's hit the button. 3-phase investor presentation, right? And it starts like this, and I kind of just overviewed it, so I'll spend a little bit of time kind of talking through it here. But there is my elevator pitch, my business plan, and my financials. So let me talk through in more detail. Here's what my elevator pitch looks like. For me, again, I expressed that I'm starting my journey. I'm just like Frodo, and I want to go and I want to talk to everyone about this. I want to post on my social media. I want to talk to, my kids, parents, friends' parents. I want to talk at the grocery store. I want to talk to everybody I know about this. And I will work this into every single conversation, right? My whole goal is to get a meeting. I want to have a meeting and tell you about this. And really, I want to not ask for money. I want to just present this opportunity. So as I'm working this into everyone's conversation, I'll say something like this. I'll say, hey, we just bought this 8 acres of land here in Central Texas, and we're building a neighborhood of mansions. And I'm going through, I'm getting my loans all together. We're looking to break ground in a few months. I'm actually bringing on investor partners. Do you know anybody interested in that? And I'll say some variation of that, right? Something like that. I'm never asking them for money. I'm just asking, do you know anyone? I think that's a great way to go, right? You start by saying important kind of keywords that are kind of a hook. I will make sure that I say the word mansion, because a mansion is a hook. They're like, huh? Right? If you say a facility, I'm building an assisted living facility. Ugh, that sounds horrible. I'm building a RAL. Blah, that sounds terrible, right? I'm building a mansion. It's 10,000 square feet with 16 private rooms. I got 20-foot high vaulted ceilings and wall-to-wall window walls. Like, I got a chef, I got a salon, I got all this cool stuff. I'm using these terms not to be like bragging anything, but I'm trying to get them excited and be like, really? Tell me more about that kind of stuff, right? So I'm using that everywhere that I go when I'm raising money. And you might think, man, that sounds like a lot of work. Dude, it is work. This is your job. It is your job to do this deal, right? Just put in the hard work and you get past this phase and you move on to the next phase. So as I get people together and we are, sitting down either at a coffee shop or on Zoom. I've done this presentation a bunch of different times, both directions here. I use this part of it, right? And I really kind of break this into a couple steps. And here's my first step. I mentioned already, I showed you my renderings. I showed you, I talked about my plans. I'll use that. I'll spend, about 10 minutes or so and just explain my vision, because a lot of times people don't know what you're talking about when you're talking about assisted living. They hear assisted living, they think independent living, they think nursing home, they think Golden Girls. They're not really sure, right? And, it's a very specific niche in the market. So I will express, here's exactly what we're doing, and here's exactly what my mansion looks like, and, all of these kind of things. And just kind of show what it looks like and get them really excited. And then I use my business plan. And the business plan is really important. It's one of the tools, right? One of my 4 tools. And I think you need to invest in quality tools, right? You need to have somebody build out your business plan and pay some money for it, somebody who knows what they're doing. The same, obviously, with your plans and your architectural stuff, right? You obviously have to pay an architect and somebody to do that kind of stuff. I wouldn't just go and find something on Google. You can look up those things. They're horrible, right? Don't do that. Just pay a professional to help you with these kind of things. And I'm really using this business plan and I'm going through it and I'm showing, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what the comps are looking like. Here's what the other facilities nearby are charging. Here's what our, services, amenities going to be. Here's what our pricing is going to be. And I'm using all of this, and everything I'm saying with the perspective is, so therefore your money is safe. And I never say, therefore your money is safe. But that is my underlying theme throughout the whole thing. I am showing you all these things because your money is going to be safe. I'm talking about the baby boomer generation being here because your money is going to be safe. I'm talking about the competition over here charging $8,000 a month. So that's why we're going to charge $8,000 a month, because I'm going to sell these beds. So therefore your money is going to be safe. I'm talking about all the amenities and services because I want you to know your money is safe. All right. So I'll go through and I'll explain through my business plan, and I won't spend a ton of time on it. I'll probably spend like 7 to 10 minutes on it, show them a few of the things, show them the numbers, show them what we do, and then just ask any questions, see if they want me to dive into anything. Most times people just kind of listen. They don't say too much. But I use this time to let them know, hey, if you're going to invest 300 grand with me, this money is safe, right? It's going to be tied to this real property. It's going to be backed by real estate, right? Like it's not going away. It can't just disappear. It's not like crypto. Then I usually pause and I'll say, hey, you know what? If you want to hear more about this, I have my performer here. I can show you all the numbers. Do you want to see what that's like? And really, I like to have a little buffer in between to give them an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? That sounds great. I do want to hear it. Or perhaps, no, this is really not for me, Brett. Thank you. But no, usually I don't say that. But I don't want to be pushing, just bulldoze through it. Or they may say, hey, you know what? This is awesome. I love it. But can my partner be here, or can my spouse be here? I'd love to have them to hear this or see this. And I want to just kind of take it one step at a time. And I'm anticipating to get through the whole thing. But, again, I want to not be pushy with these kind of things. So then we move to the next part of this, right? And I talk through the financials. And I have my performa. And again, I think that you should spend some money on this. It should look dialed in. I go and I get it like one of those spiral binders and at the hardback. And it's about 20 pages of all the different kind of things. And I can print one for best case scenario, for worst case scenario, for stabilize, and just kind of spend the time. And I walk through the numbers with them. And I put those little tabs on it so I know exactly where I'm going to go and I'm going to show them. And I want to specifically show like, okay, well, here's my numbers. It's going to be, this for my mansion. And you might just start with rough numbers. It's price per square foot. It's this for this. Here's the land, right? And then from there, okay, I've talked to some banks, I've talked to some SBA lenders, and they're going to fund X amount of dollars, right? They're going to fund, let's just say it's, $2.2 million, and we need $300,000 as the down payment. And they're funding money towards this, and they're funding money towards this, and all these kind of things. And so it's very much applicable. They need to know how much money you're raising, right? And they also want to know what's the timetable until you need the money. What's the timetable for construction? For lease up, when are you going to be stabilized, right? So again, all the performas, it goes month by month by month, right? Showing all of these kind of things and then showing when it's stabilized. I want to show them what my net profit is after I'm stabilized, meaning I've got all my grandmas in there and we're stable, we're consistent, right? What is the return there? And again, for this model, it's pretty consistent anywhere in the country that we're making at least $40,000 a month, including the vacancy. So I want to show them that. I also want to show them the worst case scenario, and I'll run that model and I'll print it out also. And I'll say, hey, you know what? If COVID part 2 happened, if all the horrible things went wrong, I would need X amount of beds full in order to break even and stabilize. And usually it's like 6 or 7 beds, right? And we have 16. It's like, I don't think that's really going to happen. But in case it did, it's not too bad of a worst case scenario. So I'm going through all of these numbers here, and really the objective is this is a home run deal. This deal is going to make so much money, right? We're going to make 500 grand a year doing this kind of deal. I'm not promising them a certain amount of money yet. We haven't gotten to that part, but I'm implying, hey, you know what? If you want to come along and be part of the deal, then you know what? I want you to share in this 500 grand we're going to make, just yearly, every single year, not counting the millions of dollars that we're going to have in the equity side when we go to exit this deal. And so those are the important things too, right? We'll talk through some of those kind of things. Exiting the deal, what does that look like as well? So really that kind of puts us into deal structure here. And for each of these mansions in about hard cost, I would say it's about 2.3 million, right? We spend roughly about 2 million into the building, and then there's the land and site work and stuff like that as well. So as you're looking at these things, this is why I think that how you can do some of the structure and deal structure. You're going to have 2 separate companies, right? If you bring in an investor, you're going to have 2 companies together, right? You're going to have a real estate company, and then you're also going to have the operations company. So with that in mind, you can structure really 2 separate deals. You can negotiate between these 2 things. If they want more equity in the real estate, you can do that, and you can give yourself potentially more equity in the operations company. So you can find a win-win, and you can do this because there's a real estate part of the deal and a business part of the deal. But as far as the investor goes, really, I do think that they have the most amount of risk on the real estate side. As you're going through and building new construction, that's where a lot of their money is there and at risk. Once the building's done and you have permits and everything, man, you have a real asset and you have equity in it, and you could sell it if worst case scenario happened. But during that time, this is where there is more risk to the investor. So I think the investor is very reasonable that they should have a good win, a good return on their equity on the real estate side. A really important component to that is the personal guarantee. If any partner has more than 20% equity in the real estate and or in the operations company, they have to personally guarantee. And what that means is not only are they risking their down payment money, they're risking the rest of the money if everything goes horribly bad. If the bank has to take the property and sell it at a fire sale, what is the difference between that value and what you owe, right? If there's money that's still short there, then they can go after that investor partner that did personally guarantee, go after their assets, go after what they have in the bank account, right? Take them to court for those kind of things. So there's risk there. But there's huge rewards on these things too, right? Again, if you're building new construction like we are, building $2.5 million worth of equity into each of these buildings, and that's like day one. As soon as this thing is licensed and done, right, there's millions of dollars in equity. So therefore, there's a big reward. Like, okay, risk and reward here. What is the win-win for them? But for you as the operator, as the person putting this deal together, right, you are definitely going to have a win with the real estate side. You are going to have a huge play on this. But you have a risk of time. Right? There is a time risk that you, as you're stabilizing and going through all of this stuff, and man, we went through COVID and it was horrible going through all of that stuff with the Great Resignation and all of those kind of things, right? There is a time risk. There is a work risk, right? I mean, Laura has worked a bunch of night shifts through that whole season where no one can come in for 2 weeks because they, tested positive for COVID. Hopefully that never happens again. But there is a lot of things that you, as the owner, as the operator, have a potential risk for, and it's less on the money side, it's more on the time side. So that means that you can set up a win-win for yourself with the equity play on the operations company. What I mean by that is you don't have to make the same offer to your potential investors. They could have a higher equity on the real estate and a lower equity on the operations, or vice versa, or you find somewhere in between. But this allows you to create a win-win because you can move these dials back and forth and find something that covers the risk of their capital and that covers the risk of your time. So that's what deal structure looks like. Then I kind of get into this offer. Really, so we're there at the table, or we're still on Zoom. I've presented everything to them. I told them, hey, I'm looking for $300,000. And then I lead up to my offer. And I think of offer, I use this term called bracketing. And it's almost like guardrails on the freeway, right? You have those like two metal rails, and if you're driving, you get crazy, you like bounce into both sides. Laura does all the time. So they're like guardrails, and really it's like your non-negotiables. One side is non-negotiable, the other is your best case scenario. And really you can't go outside of these two guardrails. So it gives you some structure here. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to offer, right? It could be anything. No, it can't be anything. It has to be between your two guardrails. So first thing is determine what is your non-negotiables, meaning what is the worst thing that you can accept, right? Here's some of the things that are non-negotiable. Potentially too little money, right? If you're raising 300 grand and they say, dude, I want to be in, I love this, I got 10 grand ready to go. I don't need 10 grand, bro. Like that's not going to do anything. That's a non-negotiable, too little money. Or giving up too much control of the company. They say, hey, I want 51%, equity and voting rights. No, I'm not going to do that either, right? Like that's too much, right? Or they want potentially interest or equity of a too high position. I'm not going to do that. What is the non-negotiable? Push yourself to the line and be like, nope, at that line right there, I just can't do it. I will not do that deal, right? Now you found one of your guardrails, and then go the other direction. What is your best case scenario? If you had a magic wand, what would you want, right? How would you do it? how much money would you want? When would you want this money? What kind of equity or debt position would you want to have? What would be the terms of how long you'd want them in the deal? What kind of voting rights or not or lack thereof would you want them to do? Like, that's your best case scenario. So now you have two guardrails, and anywhere in between these two guardrails is a deal, right? Inside of that, you can make a deal. It's a win-win for you. So obviously you just start with the best case scenario, right? Start with here. If I have my magic wand, Mr. or Mrs. Investor, I would say, boom, this is what I'm looking for. And just put it out there and say, hey, here's what I want to do, right? What do you think? Is this a win for you? And what's the worst case scenario? They just say no, right? I mean, that's not too bad. Then you can just say, okay, well, what do you think? Which part about these do you like? Okay, you like the time, right? And you like the capital. Okay, what about the equity position, right? And then you just go through, and now you have two companies to kind of yin and yang and back and forth and try and find a win-win for these things. So there is a lot of potential for these things.
I did want to add that I wish somebody would have told me this, what I'm about to tell you right now, when we first started raising capital, that you and your deal are the prize. You and your deal are the jewel. And I think it's not the opposite way. And I think a lot of times at least I did, maybe you're feeling this way too, that the investor is the jewel. The investor is the prize. And you need to lure them into your deal or else it's not going to happen. And I really want you to change your mindset on that your deal is the prize. So if you're going to come up to investor and have this whole conversation like we just broke down and they say no, that's fine because you're the prize. What you have to offer is the prize. And I think that there's so many people out there with $500,000, like Brett said, just sitting there and not doing anything. And if they could actually put their money into something that means something and is actually going to give them a great return, they're going to jump on that opportunity. So once we were able to get all of our renderings and get all the financials and see and show the investors all these things, it was kind of a no-brainer for these investors. They kind of were, hey, I want the deal. Hey, oh, sorry, we already have an investor. It's people kind of really fight over it. So you are the prize. Your deal is the prize. Remember that when you are talking to investors.
Yeah. So actually, I was on site today at our new construction projects, and some of our partners, they're based in the Dallas area, came down to tour their potential investors. And so they met with myself. They met with our construction manager. He walked them through the mansions. They went over to our other property, met with our management team, and saw the operations company. Man, they were so floored. I mean, they were like, man, where do I sign up? I want to be a part of something like this, right? Not only were they really excited about the mansion and seeing it and walking through it, but honestly, they came and they walked through Platinum. They saw the grandmas, they saw the care, and they were super excited about that. And again, if you can show this, if you may not have an existing, facility or mansion to walk through, but man, just share it and show the heart on it. And investors, they are in love with this kind of stuff because there's usually some kind of pain in their background, and they see the problem and they see that you are providing an opportunity. And they're like, okay, I want to be part of that. Everyone knows baby boomer generation is rolling through, and anything that is sales related for the baby boomers, they need to jump on. Those companies are making a ton of money right now. Mm-hmm. So that was everything I wanted to roll through tonight.
Yep.
We got a few housekeeping items to roll through, and then we can take some questions.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk through next month. I alluded to it already a bit, but I want to talk to you next month about the lender banks, right? SBA 7A. So we are using SBA 7A. We are involved in a bunch of different joint venture partnerships across the country using SB 7A, and it is an awesome product for what this is. It's just the best fit for it, especially if you're doing new construction. They lend money on even all the furniture and the working capital and the, oh crap, safety factor, everything, right? So I'm going to be breaking that down, showing you all the numbers, all the details, and showing you how you can get started talking to some lenders with this. This is next month, March 6th, right here again, live on the YouTube channel.
And we also have an amazing course. It's a free foundations training course. And this is pretty much all of the things that we wish that we would have known when we were getting started. And so I think it's important to note that these calls aren't something we're trying to sell you. We're really trying to educate you so that you feel empowered, so you can go out and build your own mansion. And so we poured our hearts out into this free foundations training. So make sure you go check that out. You can access that at assistedlivingmansion.com. And we also have a Facebook group. It's called Assisted Living Mansion. You can join that group. Again, it's free. It's just another way for you to build community with other like-minded individuals who also want to build an assisted living mansion. So you can join that as well. And we also have 2 podcasts. Our first one is kind of our fun podcast that we like doing. It's called The Donkey and the Bee. He's the donkey, I'm the bee, and we talk all things marriage, entrepreneurship, and finances. It's a really awesome podcast. It's super fun. We drop a lot of good content on that. And then Brett also has his own podcast called Assisted Living Investing. You can access those 2 podcasts on Apple Podcasts, whatever outlet that you listen to your podcast, it's available there. So go check those out.
And it's on YouTube.
Oh, and it's on YouTube, correct. So check those out if you have not already. And I was going to answer these questions because I was answering questions in the chat, but I wanted to leave some for live.
All right.
So I have about 5 questions currently.
Let's do it.
So an individual asked, if I have that $300,000 or $500,000, should I still work with an investor?
Depends. Here's kind of the question here. Okay, so you're going to go and get a loan from a bank, right? They're going to give you 80, 90% of this. Now, the real question is, how do you look on paper? How is your balance sheet? Are you bankable? Are you ready to get this $2.5 million loan? You can have the down payment funds, but are you available to qualify for the loan on your own? So I'd say there's really 2 reasons why you'd want an investor partner. First and most prevalent is you want their money for the down payment, right? Because again, a bank's not going to lend 100%. They're going to want some skin in the game. So that's the first reason. Second reason is you want the investor to come in for their balance sheet. You may look good on paper. You may have great credit, but perhaps you are doing a deal that's really big. For us, right, we're doing a $10 million deal. We brought on an investor partner for both of these reasons, for the down payment money and for the balance sheet. Even though we look good on paper and we had, prior to this, millions of dollars in equity in real estate, we were doing a massive deal, right? So I would say 2 of these reasons. And for you, if you have this money in cash, and actually you can also use equity in real estate as well to do this. If you have it, can you do it on your own? Honestly, the next question is just, talk to an SBA lender, right? Talk to somebody who specifically works in assisted living and send them all your financials and tell them what you do. And, all of these kind of things. There's not a black or white, kind of thing for it. It's very case by case and personalized whether you'll be approved for this kind of stuff.
So I'm going to read a statement and then I'm going to read a question. This is from Valerie. Valerie, I appreciate you sharing this because I think that I can totally relate with you on this. And so she said a statement and then she asked a question. I'm afraid of the numbers and the math, more specifically the deal. Figuring equity and cash flow and payout, all these terms I'm still learning. That's her statement. And then her question is, if I buy the land on my own with a loan, will SBA take over that loan and tie into the whole project?
Usually, yes. Again, talk to an SBA lender before you do that. But if you have a 30-year fixed loan, then maybe not. If you have anything with a 10-year balloon or something to that effect, then yes, usually SBA can go and you can refinance that out. And it's actually very common when we're doing a deal like this. We'll go do a takedown loan. We'll get some type of short-term financing to buy the land or the project, right? And then we'll get all our ducks in a row for SBA and then go and then refinance, right? SBA will pay off the existing mortgage. That will be gone and you'll just have one loan. And SBA can do one loan for now the land, for all of the construction. That same loan can be used for the interest while you're building, for lease-up reserves, for the furniture, for the fixtures, for builder overage, for working capital, for pre-marketing dollars. All of that can go into just one big loan. And that's why I really love the SBA for this. So to your other point, I totally get it. All of this stuff that I'm talking through, man, I didn't know any of it a couple years ago. I've spent a ton of time learning and researching this, and I would just encourage you to do the same. Laura mentioned our free foundation course. There's also 2 other courses. One of those being a funding course. There's like 27 videos in there, and I spend a ton of time talking through investors, talking through SBA and lenders and deal structure and all that kind of stuff. I would start there. And again, just hit the website, totally free. If you don't get it, then check your spam because it sometimes goes there.
Next question is from Drew. How far outside of Austin, Texas area will you partner? Is South Carolina too far?
No. We don't have any partners in South Carolina, right? But we have.
I don't think so, not yet.
I mean, really.
Not yet, Drew.
Man, we're talking to somebody last week. He's in Anchorage, Alaska. And it's like, all right, we can do one in Alaska.
Yeah,
Like, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, East Coast, West Coast, in the middle, all of the above. We're looking for the right people to do this kind of deal with, and you can reach out, book a call, talk to our team, and then we can talk as well. But yeah, we're looking for people who can be successful, who have the heart and the intelligence and the experience to be able to do this and be successful.
British Dean wrote, so as far as writing out my business plan, do you think I should hire a professional person? Asking because that's the area that is difficult for me right now. I'm about to take the manager course.
Yes, for sure. I mean, honestly, you can just start on like Fiverr, Upwork, or something like that, but don't get someone who just does business plans. I found somebody who does business plans, but they also had experience in assisted living. It wasn't maybe exactly the same thing, but it was, at least they had an understanding of how the thing worked. And as I'm trying to explain, hey, here's our license type, and this is why we're different than a nursing home and memory care, they understood the lingo and they were able to take my vision and put it into a plan. So I think I want to say I spent like $2,500 on it. Yeah.
Last question that we have so far, unless someone else asks one. So do you recommend bringing on joint venture or equity partners that can vote versus doing a syndication, even if you are raising close to 1.5 million?
I don't like syndications for this kind of deal because usually the person putting the deal together doesn't have a big enough win. So what I mean by that is if you're just doing just the real estate, and then I would say a syndication is just fine. You could do the real estate and you could rent it to some big corporate, right? Then you're putting a management company in between, you have a triple net, and it's fine. No big deal. But we're running an active business, and somebody has to be like the ultimate responsible person for this. It's a 24/7, 365 business. And all of a sudden your staff, like when it's Christmas, they don't want to come in. And either your managers have to come in, or if they don't come in, then you have to come in, right? Somebody's got to take care of these grandmas. And that's a big responsibility. And you don't want somebody who has 15% equity in the deal because they have a syndication in charge of that position, right? That's just not a big enough win for them to do it. I think that a better deal structure is what I'm talking about now. Through SBA, you, again, need a smaller amount of down payment. So that way, I mean, what we're talking about here, this is how you get, 70 to 80% equity in these kind of deals, or maybe even more, right? Having, again, $40,000 a month of cash flow plus millions of dollars of equity being built is through deal structure like this. So I would say that with SBA. That equity position is different than the voting rights. You can still do something like this, give someone equity, but you just make yourself the manager. There's members and then there's managers, and you can do all sorts of different terms in the agreement, right? Like, you can have, a certain percentage of equity is needed to sell or to do such and such things if that's going to exit. Or, like normal day-to-day duties, like just the manager has the right to do all those kind of things. You really can put all that in the operating agreement and solve that problem.
That's all we got, folks. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you all for your great questions. So we'll be back again next month. Don't forget, we'll be right here, and feel free to reach out in the Facebook group. We, again, join there. We're posting all the updates of our mansions and all of that kind of stuff. You can ask questions in there. We are happy to respond and help you out with all that kind of stuff. And then also you just post comment on some of the Facebook, the YouTube stuff. And I'm happy to answer some of those questions there as well.
Yeah, also follow us on not Facebook, Instagram, Assisted Living Mansion. Again, we have a bunch of updates on the mansions on there as well. So make sure to subscribe and join on that.
Awesome. Well, you all have a wonderful night. See you all next time.
Bye, y'all.